Canada, and good morning to the rest of the world. It is December 30th, just after 6 in the morning here in Kelowna, the city that I think is here to design to change the world. Um, I want you to imagine for a second a human race, much like our own, that has been the most successful species on the planet because of our ability to adapt and our ability to use our conscious mind and problem solve and learn and test and prove what can be done and what cannot be done. We run into a lot of problems when we prove what cannot be done because we start to hear the words impossible. Um, and a lot of people would suggest that me going from, homelessness to traveling the world and ending up in Shanghai in the next very short amount of time, while at the same time probably beating cancer and gaining substantial wealth because of my intention to impact others, um, may suggest it to be impossible. But as I sit here in Hotel El Dorado, and I just read the book, The L or something, whatever, I can't remember what it's called, but The L, and I read the mayor's foreword, I am left with nothing other than almost like a knowing that my trip around the world that involves, a stop in Mexico and there's the Prague, there's India. As a final resting spot, though, is in Shanghai. But then I'm going to this place that doesn't even exist yet. Actually, in so many countries' eyes, that's Taiwan, because I do hope I get to see my boys again. And there's an angel that I'd like them to meet. Uh, and that's kind of all on the same page where Canada goes and stops World War III and becomes the world superpower. But we'll get more into that later, because sticking true to form, we're going to start off with a little dose of our daily bread. That first book given to me by the Salvation Army when they gave me a sandwich, underwear, socks, a coat, and a sleeping bag. And wow, I felt abundant with those items in the winter, as I was kicked out of my house from squatters that were involved in, oh, you name it. I'd say all 19 crimes that this guy did, plus a few more. Great bottle of wine too, if you're into Shiraz. For the price, I thought it was okay. It would not. It's not going to be one of my favorites, but I had to buy it because of the bottle logo. 19 crimes. I'm sure there have been more than 19 crimes committed in my house in the last 6 months. Many of which have been physical. A lot have been theft, beating women, making fentanyl, all those kind of things. It was the point where I was homeless. I was scared for my life. But back to the daily bread. Wisdom is a tree of life to those who take hold of her. Proverbs 3:18. Better than gold. When gold seeker Edward Jackson set out for California during the Great Gold Rush in the U.S., his diary entry on May 20th, 1849, lamented his grueling wagon journey, marked by disease and death. "Oh, do not leave my bones here," he wrote. "If possible, let them lay at home." Another gold seeker named John Walker penned, "It is the most complete lottery that you can imagine. I cannot advise any person to come." Walker, in fact, returned home and succeeded at farming, ranching, and state politics. When a family member took Walker's yellowing letters to the American TV program Antiques Roadshow, they were valued at several $1,000s, said the TV host. So he did get something valuable out of the gold rush: the letters. Even more, both Walker and Jackson returned home after gaining wisdom that caused them to take hold of a more practical life. Consider these words about wisdom from King Solomon. "Blessed are those who find wisdom. She is a tree of life to those who take hold of her. A wise choice is more profitable than silver and yields better returns than gold, making wisdom more precious than any earthly desire." Long life is in her right hand, and all her paths are peace. Our challenge, therefore, is to hold tight to wisdom, not shiny wishes. It's a path God will bless. So, what shiny wishes have you been chasing in life, and where could the path of wisdom take you instead? Here's a prayer they suggest for the day. Heavenly Father, when I'm blinded by the lure of shiny wishes, inspire me to take hold of wiser choices, walking the path of wisdom back to your blessed peace. Now, I'm going to take this one on a little bit further today because I found the Bible in this hotel room. It was hidden, but if you look and find, you may find what you need. And, I really like the very first part of it here, and it says, this is John 3:16, translated in over 1,100 languages. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. Now, I like that. And I was going to read it in Chinese, but we're going to keep this one to English and just carry on. Because I'm also looking at, when I got to the front page here, and like a table of contents, pressure. I'm under a touch of pressure. And it's suggested, where was pressure there? Isaiah 30:15. For thus the Lord God, the Holy One of Israel, has said, in repentance and rest you shall be saved. In quietness and trust is your strength, but you were not willing. I like that one. And then another one for pressure, Isaiah 26:3. You are looking at the first time that I've tapped into a Bible here, so bear with me. I didn't buy one, but I gave it away. It was way too small. It was an old King James version, and it was like, I had a magnifying glass, and, I didn't have these glasses back then, which I just found yesterday, and believe it or not, they're perfect. It's like everything is back to the size that it should be. Where are we here? The steadfast of mind thou wilt keep in perfect peace, because he trusts in thee. And so, I'm digging it. I like that. And I have not stopped since 1995 on my quest towards Utopia, or trying to get people to live like a passion-filled life, fire-filled life, as Todd White calls it. And so, keep it going on with this here. We're going to carry on into some of the books that came my way yesterday, but then I'm looking at some right in front of me here that I've got my lamp sitting on that have been influential in my life. One of them is Start With Why. Simon Sinek, Start With Why. Like, what's your why, baby? Get up, what's your go? Because when you got that figured out, ain't nothing gonna stop you. Back to wisdom, Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow. I'm a racehorse, baby, but I'm a warrior too. I'm like a full-time hardcore endurance triathlete. Like David Goggins, the toughest man in the world, man. Like, hey, buddy, I'm coming for you. I gotta tell you, personally though, I ran a half marathon and it wasn't my thing. So we're gonna have to find a different way to do that. How we go through a readathon, who can go through the most information and power up that wisdom channel as much as we can. Let's take that one on. The 21 laws, or irrefutable laws of leadership by John C. Maxwell. Oh man, John C. Maxwell's been in my life ever since the Canadian Establishment, Part 1 and 2. Talked about, I think back then it was like 10% of the people control 90% of the wealth, and I'm pretty sure now he's got it down to about 97% of the people controlling 3% of the wealth. And those would be the 97% of the people that my content is for. Because the wealth is there. And I know there's obstacles, there's challenges in you acquiring it. I'm actually dealing with some guy named Hologod right now in Africa that just can't stop talking about money because he wants to make it in life. And I said, money and success have zero to do with anything at all. Trust me. As somebody who walked away from $1 million salary, less than, well, not salary, but earning potential, I had several jobs. Because after my time with Lou Tice, I said, hey, I'm going to double my income every year. And I did. Once I was able to get rid of the scotomas in my mind, the blind spots, the obstacles, those things that we're told we can't see past. And then, how can I forget Robin Sharma, the 5 a.m. Club, also the author of The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Buddy, hey, you sold your Ferrari? I gave my house away. Squatters, man, in an attempt to stop the human trafficking and drug gang raping industry that's going on here in the Okanagan. A place that I called heaven. Which is what I'd like my bed and breakfast on the one side to be called, but it turned into hell in a massive, massive way, a hell that I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy. Then there's a book by Sonalia Derenigalia, The Wave, talking about the separation of a tidal wave from her family, and I can't say how much I know the pain of that book, yet I've never read it because this wave of fear that's been riding on the back of COVID has had me without seeing my kids for 7 months now, my angels. And I know there's going to be a time when I see them, and all I got to do is this little trip around the world here and figure out, how to go from penniless and homeless to having a private jet so I can avoid some things. Dealing with cancer, I'm pretty sure that's back in my world. I've already had it once, and I've had 3 tumors cut out. I know I was supposed to get a couple cut out a while back. When I got back to Kelowna, the day that COVID was announced is the day that my family and I left Taiwan. The day before, actually, because we were a day ahead over there. And I don't know if I brought it with me, but I was pretty close to ground zero there, and I do have like a bite from an insect that did cause some necrosis that almost looked like the bubonic plague. I've got them on slides somewhere. It's kind of an interesting little thing. But when I came back here, and I'm looking at this other book that I've yet to read, but I want to, and it was one that fell out of the sky to me called The Bronx Angel. Now, hey, Kelowna ain't the Bronx, but let me tell you, it ain't Hastings either, but oh my God, the stuff you see in this city is stuff the human mind should never, ever see, and it is absolutely just despicable, and it is all from a lack of love of self, and mental health and addiction are just running rampant through this place. Cocaine's kind of like the old cryptocurrency of the world, and I'm not saying anything against it. I've used it myself, and actually now I'm supporting crack cocaine over cocaine because at least you can cook out the fentanyl and cook out some of the other jazz. Mind you, they've figured out ways to buff that too. And then right below it, there is a book by Desmond Morris, The Human Zoo. And baby, I'm telling you, we are living in the human zoo. We are not living in the natural way that we should be. Like, you can just ask people like the owners of the Liquid Zoo who like walk around beating homeless people for nothing and stealing for no reason at all. And if it wasn't for the assault, I'd try to work with you. But when I am here to be a voice for those that are scared to use their voice, I'm afraid I'm going to have to go legal on that one. And I don't like focusing on the negative. As a matter of fact, I've got several insurance claims, whether it was the 45-foot trailer, the multiple cars, the boat, the motorcycles, or the house that was stolen, the washer and dryer that stolen out of my house from the squatters that stole everything under the sun. They stole from so much that they were, if one of them turned their head, the other one was stealing from the person right beside them. It absolutely despicable, but it was all out of a pain. And for them, I have nothing other than love and prayers that you find peace within yourself and find a way to deal with your pains. I've got to, I'm going to throw my wish list out there, but I'm one of those people that's like, I'm not begging, like this guy from Africa is like, hey, can you give me $200 for my birthday? I'm like, huh? Like, I'm homeless, buddy. You got a house? You got some food? I don't. But, no. The answer is no. Because I'm a big believer in giving money, but I want to see an ROI on it. And like, I know not every business plan is going to work, and nothing's going to go as planned. But if your intentions at the start um, show promise, and then you're asking for money and say, I can turn this into 1.25 times, or 1.5 times, or 3 times, or 5 times, or what have you. Hey, I'm going to be the first to donate to your charity or your cause. Um, but if you can't put a business plan together that makes sense to anybody, and it's just like, well, I don't know about that, like pencil sharpeners, for example. I can teach you just about, I can teach anybody to make money out of thin air, as long as they stop focusing on the money, and focus on the value they provide to others, while at the same time focusing on their passion. Um, yeah, I teach you how to make money out of thin air, whether you're selling insurance or bookmarks, like I did, several about a year ago now, to prove to my boys that I can make money out of thin air. But if you were, say, in the market of making pencil sharpeners, there's gonna be a limit. There's gonna be a limit. I'm gonna tell you right now. Mind you, I have went back to writing with pen and paper, and maybe that pencil sharpener market is gonna boom yet. I don't know. It might have been tapped. But I want to talk about, some of the other books that are a part of me and who I am. Most of these, well, we got to start with being a farm kid. Farmers. What food am I? So many people right now are detached from their food source, and how it is grown. And then, farmers, who used to be one of the most respected professions in North America, I think they were second to nurses, are like boom down on the bottom of the list. And you know what? Nurses should be too, because after the stuff I've seen in the hospital, the unionization is no longer serving a value. Like you look at organic trade. When I volunteered as the director of strategic engagement for sustainable grain, they're pointed out the fact that if you loaded a load of organic wheat in Winnipeg and sent it to port, say in Vancouver or Prince Rupert, by the time that organic wheat got there, there would be trace amounts of glyphosate in it, similar to what you find in Cheerios. That's because there's so much glyphosate in the system that to pay for certified organic is absolutely asinine. The certification process itself is a joke. What you need to ask yourself is, would the farmer that grew this eat it himself? That's probably a better metric. And if we look at like Emma Watson out of Australia, New Zealand, when she's using blockchain technology to allow accountability and traceability, I think the sky's the limit for how we can get rid of unnecessary certification processes, yet still find producers that are willing to grow to the consumers. Think about like Seedy making Durham noodles out of, or noodles out of Durham that meet the Japanese criteria. Now, could you imagine a Japanese restaurant owner, a ramen noodle place that like finds a farm and a family who like they click, they gel, they've got some of the same ideas, and then that farm starts branding itself, and then not only that, they implement the blockchain technology designed by Emma Watson, so that the person sitting in that restaurant, say in Tokyo, Japan, slurping on their noodles as loud as all get out, which is a compliment to the chef, right? So don't judge if you don't know. But could you imagine that person sitting there and it's like, hey, look, they're spraying right now. We can see what they're spraying, or hey, they're harvesting right now. Like, go on there and it's on a screen. And it's like there's a story about the farmer and maybe the farmer's kids, and like how that seed grown in, say, Kindersley, Saskatchewan, or Brock, Saskatchewan, where I'm from, went from that farmer's bin to the dirt, to the combine, to the bin again, to the train or the plane or the boat, or maybe they bagged it themselves and were selling like 50-kilogram bags over to this place, and then to a noodle processor and turned it into the noodles that were being eaten, like all live, real time, all with the transparency that we demand now, all without the need for any certification or government organization. It can be done the way so much needs to be done right now. And I'm speaking this specifically as a Canadian, because what I've seen, the rules and the rights and regulations that made Canada one of the greatest places to live back in the 70s and 80s, or most desired places to live, was based upon the rules and regulations that assured a baseline social safety standard. These same rules and regulations and rights are what are handcuffing us, and they're killing our country. For example, me, the homeowner, getting kicked out of his house, spending time in jail, as squatters are in there stealing my kids' toys, everything, destroying $1 million house that I bought as a revenue property because I wanted to share the beauty of Kelowna with the world. Literally, I called my bed and breakfast heaven. I hand carved several garden box called heaven, and then there's a table at the bar that I hand routed heaven in there, because honestly, the Okanagan trifecta, fishing, golfing, skiing, all in one day, all wearing appropriate clothing for each activity. Come on, where else can you do that in the world? Nowhere other than this fucking hellhole. I mean, this piece of heaven, depending on where you sit. But there's a lot more people sitting here in hell than there are in heaven. And, you know, one of the biggest crimes that I see happening in the world is those with abundance walking over top of somebody in absolute dire need. You know, the shelters are full. I didn't stay in a shelter because I'm healthy and, you know, I don't need it nearly as bad as some of the people that have massive addictions and mental health issues did. So I decided, hey, I can handle the cold. I'm a Saskatchewan farm kid. It's only going to get to minus, what, 10 here? Yeah, right. It was like minus 25 or feeling like minus 40 a couple days ago. Trust me, it was cold. But as a revenant, someone who's died and been born again, died and been born again, died and been born again, I actually think I was even a dragon not too long ago. My faith is stronger than just about anyone on the planets right now, and that's because the Holy Spirit has been guiding me relentlessly. Where did these glasses come from, you might ask yourself? Well, they came from a 66-year-old guy that I took off the streets, and he put them on a coffee table, and he's got like 4 pairs of glasses. These didn't work. I grabbed them and I put them on last time. Holy man, I get to read again. This is gonna be awesome. I'm gonna pound through some books. So I loaded up on some books. You know, a little bit about me in terms of religion. Well, I'm the founder of the Church of Now, which is a church. It's not a church guided by Bibles, which aren't Bibles. And our biggest thing is it's a self-improvement system that we use, but a combination of concepts. One of them is bullet journaling, and the other one is looking at intention and reflection and making sure that you live your life in such a manner so that, you know, as Robin Schomburg said, there was a father talking to a son and said, son, you know, live your life in such a manner so that, contrary to when you were born, as you cried and the world rejoiced, when you die, the world cries as you rejoice. Now that's, I'm telling you, I don't care what religion you adhere to or subscribe to or prescribe to or not, you do that, and you're going to be all right. My late father, speak of the devil, or the angel, and I know he's been giving me this, some of this wisdom. I've got 2 angels that are up there that just won't leave me alone, and they're protecting me no matter how hard I fall down. My Buddha, that's right, my Buddha sadly died of overdose this last summer. And then, hey, the old guy, the farmer that raised me, that said never trust an overtly religious person or an overtly successful used car salesman. Those were some of the things that he taught me. He also said don't eat yellow snow, and I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with yellow snow, man? If you're in an ocean, at least you drink your piss a couple times, 7 times before you die. I'd be worried about eating red snow because you can catch HIV or something like that in that one. But you know, even HIV, look, Magic Johnson, if you got the money, it's curable, man. Like every virus is curable. And some of the other books that have come to me, these have come to me on the streets. So these 2 here walked up to my door. Now, it's really weird. On May 19th, 2019, when I was first touched by an angel, and I'm telling you, it freaked the bejesus out of me. I was doing a pineal gland meditation down by Gyro Beach, using one of Joe Dispenza's guided meditations, and I dialed it in, baby. I was mind out of body. The mind is not the body, as they say, and all of a sudden, holy wow, the great white, yellow light, all I can say is angelic, came through my eyelids or whatever, and then the freakiness happened where I was like, I freaked out and I couldn't really move, and I was like so scared, and it was almost as if I was being tickled from the inside. And then when I calmed down and relaxed, that's when the voice said, you know, young son, you found your gift and you know what you've been here to sell. And I'm a big believer that everybody should be selling 24/7. Anybody that says that 24/7 is a liar, or they're on a drug that is not sustainable. But you know, You've been selling. You've been selling in countries. You've been selling in languages you don't speak. You've been selling in healthcare, education, insurance, agriculture. You name it. You've been selling. You've been selling drugs. You've been selling everything. And you brought results that just were unexpected and unprecedented. And the reason for that is because I had never sold anything that I wouldn't buy myself if I was in that customer's shoes. You know, I know the human mind's going to say no seven times before it says yes, and I'm going to be that sales guy that on the 8th time, if I ain't got time to deal with you one more pitch, I'll buy the damn thing for you. You can thank me for it later. And it said to me, son, I'm worried about the human race because the dinosaurs died of the ice age. You guys are going to die of a fire age because there's a fire-breathing dragon flying around right now, just kind of saying, hey, can you guys please take care of Mother Earth because it's a creation of the creators, as am I. And dragons, like all people guided by strong faith, should only need to ask once. Nicely. And the second time, they just make it happen. And I got a feeling the global warming is that fire, that dragon getting ready to scorch us like a son of a gun if we don't pull our heads out of our asses. Ray Dalio said it best, this COVID is not a test of our international response or cooperation or fiscal monetary policies. It is a test of one thing and one thing only, and that is whether or not we can be kind. Anyway, this angel is telling me, it said, I need you to do something. And I don't usually tell people what to do with their gift. But I need you to sell the vaccine to the real pandemic. And this is a pandemic I identified in 1995 as well, a lack of purpose and a detachment from motivation. You know, when I look at a red light downtown in the morning, like rush hour traffic morning, of just about any city I've been to in the world, 95% of the people needed an alarm clock to get up and go to work, and it's like they're sitting there, coffee in hand, kind of looking like a sleeping zombie. There are so few that are waking up like warriors, waking up charged, waking up like my boys do. When we wake up, he's like, hey, what time is it? It's go time. When you gonna start? Right now. You know, that's how we wake up in our house. When I used to have my boys, God bless them, those two angels, man. You know, my oldest still has determination, like, hey, it ain't nobody's business. He got MVP from so many places. That kid, man, he's got the heart of a warrior that you never want to go to battle with. And then we got my younger one, Alex, who I called Karma because, woo, baby, Willow's easy, and Alex, woo, you are a little bit of a challenge, but his kindness, man, the kindness that comes out of that kid's mind and heart is unlike anything you've ever seen in my life. You know, oh, man, that kid is just dialed in, especially in terms of sales. But these two books, after I was told what I was supposed to be selling, and I know you're going to find this a little bit odd. I did too, and it's tough, man. Like, I've laid my body upon the rocks, and I've given my body to God. I've given my soul, baby. I've given my faith. I've given everything I own to the Creator, the universe, or the world star. And these two books show up my door. One is called How to Thrive in a Shattered World, Hope for Troubled Times, and The Great Hope. Now, we're going to keep on going with hope because these books came to my fence. This book, I don't even know where it came from. Everything is Fucked, a book about hope by Mark Manson. These two came from me as I was walking homeless down by the marina, where I'm telling you, Mayor Bassaran, you should be pulling your head out of your ass and hearing what I have to say, because I've got a vision, and the vision is Kelowna is important not only in saving ourselves, but in providing a shining light and example to Canada and the rest of the world about what resourcefulness, ingenuity, adaptability, and innovation can do. And I'm telling you, we've got it all right here. But passion, the passion of love, and 10 Commandments twice removed. Trust me, I don't know if this is talking, well, that's not how it's talking about 10 Commandments. I don't know if that's like the sins or whatever, but trust me, I've done them all. All the sins you can imagine, I've done them. I used to say when I'd walk into a church, the church started on fire, so that's why I had to start my own called the Church of Now. Actually, the Church of Now was started off with the concept that, all religions probably started from the same thing, out of love. You know, maybe one person had that connection. Maybe they were like me, sitting down at Gyro Beach doing a pineal gland activation, and all of a sudden it was like, bah! And after that, probably where we went wrong as humans is we started to communicate. And it probably, whoever had that first connection or one of those connections probably went to their loved ones and said, hey, this is what I did. I did this. I did this. I did this. So what happened? happens is they were communicating to another. And one thing about communication is that every time you have communication, there is a guaranteed percentage of miscommunication. When you have miscommunication, you have misunderstanding. When you have misunderstanding, you have uncertainty. When you have uncertainty, you have the unknown. And we, as humans, respond to the unknown with fear, which manifests as anger. And the rest of the world wars are history. World War III, on the other hand, that's a dicey one, man. That's a dicey one. It's already well underway. I'm going to go through the books here, the books I got. This one, again, no idea where it came from, but keep your paycheck, live your passion, how to fulfill your dream without having to quit your day job. Okay, so I don't know what that's about, but I know what it's about. It's almost as if I wrote the damn book, because I'm teaching people how to make money out of thin air as long as they never focus on the money. And Gary Vaynerchuk, hey baby, you know, you're involved in this too. So are you, Gary John Bishop. And then 13 ways to kill your community. I'd say we only need one. Just let the corrupt cops in the fentanyl industry just run rampant throughout, and you're going to kill a community. Trust me, you're doing a hell of a fine job. Not one neighbor came over to my house in the last 6 months as they saw my house go from a beautiful place with kids running around to an absolute war zone. A war zone so bad that the city of Kelowna took 2 of my dogs away from me. We got to talk about that too, there, Mayor Bastron. You know, I tried to give you a warning. You don't want to talk, so I guess we're going to just go legal with that again. But unreasonable expectations from your own staff and the incompetence of your own staff, so which we've all got written down and documented. But then talking about Sikhism, you know, a brief introduction. True is the Lord, true is His name. Sikhism, so big believer in, Waheguru, or We Are One, the universal God, universal energy, whatever you want to call it. But let's not rule out the other side of the world here, people, because Confucius also is very big in my life, and you know, I am a living, breathing yin yang, and you know, the gray, baby. Gray is that place of twilight, sundown and sunup. You know, that's the gray zone. And there's only one person that was ever able to go to gray very often, come back, because gray is where fear is, where doubt is, where uncertainty is, and that was Jesus. Like, he was the only one that could go down there and pull somebody who was out of the fires and pull them back up and save them. And let me tell you, I don't know if I've got Jesus in me or what, but I'm telling you, the Holy Spirit, and I am gray as a mofo, people. You try and get me on anything Eastern, and I'll flip it Western. You try and get me on anything Western, I'll flip it Eastern. Talk about an individual society versus a collective society, and I will nail you to the whatever you want to be nailed to. I am born again, and born again, and born again. Born in Calgary, Alberta, as a Canadian, raised on a farm in Saskatchewan. I think I moved there when I was 6 or 7 years old. Within a week of being there, I started the small town on fire, and then I think it was like the next week or the week after, the school started. Hey, how you like me now? I just burned down your town. Yeah, I'm from Calgary. Yeah, I listen to rap music. What are you guys doing out here? Yeah. Ooh, talk about a little bit of a rough start. But it all worked out okay because some influential people came into my life. Mike Schneider, a guy that taught me to play goalie. And a goalie, I was the fastest skater on the ice. And a goalie, one of those positions that nobody ever gives you a clap in hand when you win, and everybody gives you shit when you lose. You know, so you got to be selfless when you go to be a goalie. But we're gonna talk about some more books that came my way yesterday, because one of them is Teach Yourself Books. Teach Yourself Books. Algebra. Love it. I opened it up. I don't know what that means, but it's got a Canada flag in there, and I'm telling you, Canada ripped in half, and that's what is happening right now. Whether we're ripped in half with the French, or whether we're ripped in half with the Métis or the Aboriginal population, we're ripped in half. And let me tell you one thing, I can cure that problem very easily, and I've tested it with lots of people. When I drove across Canada trying to raise money for mental health and Canadian local business, screaming boom shakalaka at the top of my lungs in a pink banana hammock. Thank you, neighbors, for calling that one in. You never came over to see if I was having a diabetic reaction, or maybe I have insulin. Maybe I got bit by a black widow spider, which I did twice this year. Speaking of which, gotta be something about Spider-Man here. Oh, baby. Spider-Man versus the Green Machine. Yeah, baby, that came to me yesterday. I don't know where it came from. We got Dr. Seuss, One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish. And I've got The Valley of the Lost by Emily Rhoda. And then A Dragon's Nest. Look at that dragon, baby, throwing fire out there. And then On Being a Disciple of Yeshua. Okay, and we've got A Horse Named Steve. My biological dad's named Steve. And then The Tooth Mouse. A Big Bear Hug. A Kitten's Adventure. What Are Christmas and Easter About? Brother Cadaffiel's Penance. 20th Chronicle of Brother Cadfael. War Horse. That's right, baby. We're in war, and you're looking at a war horse. Lost in the Devil's Desert. Oh, don't worry, because you got me here, and I'll pull you out of that desert. The Story's Keeper, Sink or Swim, baby. And then I got 2 from Canada, so I'm telling you, Canada, we are an important place. We're an important place. We can teach the world how to be self-sufficient. We've got so much wealth and abundance. We've got everything the world wants. We've got more suffering here. It makes no sense to me, and I've got a model to make that change. Cryptocurrency came here to save the world, and I'm telling you, there's a way to use it if you just pull your head out of the apples. Trust me, I'm the kind of guy that delivers 1950 trucks to people that make helicopters. I make impossible things happen. I've been doing it forever. Maxwell's Metamorphosis, and I'd say she's about time. Then I've got In the Treehouse and Henny Penny. I got another Dr. Seuss ABC. And Curious George Visits the Toy Shop, because let me tell you, curiosity. You know, the house for curiosity, the haven for knowledge is the library. And that's been my office for a while because they had a free bathroom, they had some books in there, they had free heat, they had free water, and they had internet, although I had my hard drive, my computer in a pawn shop because I caught some really bad people doing some really bad things, and they wanted my data, but I put it in a pawn shop. And they destroyed my house looking for everything. I'm talking every thumb drive, every SD card. They went through that house with a fine-tooth comb. Trust me, that's why I spent so many hours in jail that night after catching somebody breaking into my house. You know, I really, and again, I got to go against the violence. When you dislocated my finger, sorry, we're going to have to press charges on that because if you did it to me, who's going to stop you from doing it to somebody else? A few more here. The Story of Pirates, which is perfect because I want the other side of my bed and breakfast to be called The Pirates on Sortie, Hell. And I want to have a little cantina, which, you know, just to kind of add some Mexican love of life there. And, you know, Mexico's got a very important place in my heart. Not only have I lived there for a while, learned how to cook food down there, but good old Abraham. My gosh, does the world ever bring amazing things at amazing times. Cars and bikes and, you know, trucks, tractors, and trams. That's kind of cool because I need a private jet, and I know just the guy who's got one. I think he's going to help me out. And it's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. And then cartoon animation, and this is where I know I got to go to the American School of the Hague in southern France, so that's on my way too. You know, just another one of the places that I got to go to because I'm about to get lucky, according to Shen Liao, and I think I'm going to Shanghai on my way to meet my soulmate and be on par, because I do believe she's a billionaire that started on the streets, and I hate to tell you, but you're looking at one as well. Now, I'm not a billionaire yet, and I'm still on the streets, but I believe that instead of focusing on the crimes and the insurance and the negativity of the world, I'm simply going to put out my wish list and see if there's some kindness out in the world, that maybe there's some people that, hey, this guy's not doing a bad thing. You know, he's trying to stop girls from getting gang raped, trying to put a dent in the fentanyl industry. By and large, these are pretty noble things, so much so that he gave his house up. And, you know, I've actually got a way for people and girls that are forced into the sex trade industry to make more money in 2 weeks than they could in 2 months, all from the comfort of their own home. And that's probably why the big rat came for me, because a stinky motherfucking rat, doesn't like when people start taking away his cheese. But this dude ain't quitting. I ain't stopping. 2 biggest commodities in the world right now by volume, dollar volume, are humans and drugs. And Canada, I think it's our turn to be the world superpower, because we've got the strongest army in the world, and I'm telling you, the army is filled with empathy, kindness, and compassion, and understanding, and tolerance for difference. Can you tell me another country that has that like we do in spades? I can't think of a single one. Nobody wants China to be the world superpower, even though I cannot wait. I hope the whole world comes to Kelowna and maybe gets a free stay at heaven or hell. As we talk about China before communism, an amazing play if it's still allowed to go on. And nobody wants the States. And Russia's happy in number 2 because they're just stealing everything they can because everybody's looking the other way. But Canada, World War III has started. And to every person out there, you need to look in the mirror a little hypocritically at yourself and ask yourself, what happened to Hong Kong? Or were you too busy putting on a mask and worrying about a virus? Because if we're not careful, that's what's happening to Taiwan. Taiwan is a country that doesn't exist. And I want to make it exist. I want Canada to tomorrow, boom, drop an embassy in there and say we recognize this country because they were closest to ground zero of COVID and they had the smallest impact on their healthcare system, their education system, their economy, mortality and infection rates. How did they do it? They did it by being resourceful and realizing they had to count on themselves first. And that is what this whole thing is about. I'm starting at your house. You got to take care of yourself first. You got to learn to love yourself first so you can let God's love into you. After you love yourself, then you worry about your family. After you worry about your family, then you worry about your neighbor. Then that's that block. And then across the street. And then down the next community. And then down and get that whole city taken care of. And then you get all the farmers in between. And you just keep going. Why not start it where I started? Boom, shakalaka, mile marker 0, Terry Fox. And just take care of us all. Start with yourself first. World peace is possible. And in my version of Utopia, which I heard in 1995, I was told Utopia was a place where all humans get along together and work together and play together. I'd like to add sustainably and in a state of joy and abundance, which is why the 2 Garys are so important to me trying to pay people to do the right thing. Because I'm not one of those people with my hand out asking for charity, sympathy. My dad always said, you know where sympathy is? It's somewhere in the dictionary between shit and syphilis, and you don't want any 3 of them, so you ain't going to get any sympathy from me. Trust me. I'll give you more than you give me. Now, it might take a little bit of time, but I pay my debts. God bless you. And don't forget, December 30th, that tree of knowledge. My dad always used to say, they can't get your head off. Well, trust me, they tried. The last dude swung a machete at my head, and I don't know, that thing, I swear, went right through my neck and took a chunk out of my door. And only by the power of my faith in the Holy Spirit am I still here today. God bless you. Hollow gold. Stop focusing on the money, baby, and it's going to come to you. I'm going to work with you. I want to work with you, but you got to stop focusing on the money. Money is just a value exchange tool, and then you got to tell me what's your value proposition. Because if you can't tell me your value proposition in a single sentence, I can tell you what you're worth. Nada. Now, COVID, it's here. But I would like to imagine this species smarter than the rest of them, and we could even outsmart this virus. Because this virus just tried to ruin Christmas, and it did that by spreading fear. When you asked Hitler, how did he get all these crazy things to happen, how people do all these crazy things? Fear and isolation, you get everybody to do anything. What is going on? Now, there could be some, like I said, we've got ourselves into a situation where the rights are more powerful than what is right. Our education system, our legal system, our healthcare systems, we're all handcuffed by the rules that we made. And maybe there's some illuminating force like the UFOs from above or the world star that are coming down here and say, yeah, we're in a man-making disease, and yeah, you're going to get that vaccine because if you're not adding value, you're taken away and you're a parasite to this earth, and this earth will be here long after you. If you don't want to end up like a dinosaur, start to be kind, according to Ray Dalio. Another great book, Principles. You gotta get, well, I don't know what our education system's teaching right now, but anything you learn in school, you can Google it. But what you can't teach is principles. Start working on your principles. And then know them, dial them in, and be grounded in them. God bless you, namaste, satsiliga, whatever you believe in, whether it is God, Allah, Buddha, Waheguru, Timbuktu, Mother Earth, or the world star. I want a team of people that have faith, because the difference between a lucky person and an unlucky person is that who has belief. And don't give me any luck, please. I don't need it. Give it to those without faith. God bless you.